start in about 2 minutes. Lauren, what's up with you? What's today about for you?
Today was good. I had class earlier. I'm taking a class at ICP with some people that are in this room. It's called Fall Light, and it's with Janelle Lynch, and we were having a really great convo about Robert Adams today.
Oh, what was found out today? Did we learn something about him?
You know, I was reflecting on the way that he was introduced to me at SUNY Purchase, because I feel like it was in a more historical context, but I really didn't lean into the poetry of his philosophy to picture taking, and the quality of light, and his like spirit in general. So we were all just like reading essays, watching videos, and just feeling very moved by him as a person and him as an artist. So
very nice.
Yeah, it was a good day.
He is definitely one of my favorites ever. I mean, I love him. And I saw
Ansel Adams?
Robert Adams.
Robert Adams.
Somebody hating on Ansel Adams?
Favorite Robert Adams book?
Oh, wow. I have a first edition copy of Los Angeles Spring, which is very nice. What about you, Lauren?
You know, this was my introduction to Robert Adams and his literature. So I think that I'm probably going to buy Art Can Help and dive into that. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, I can't find that book. I don't know where it is. There's too many books now.
That's your poetic man.
Yeah, and then of course Denver. I think Denver's actually, it has to be Denver or the New West, but Denver in particular, that book as a book and how it moves from like external space to internal space over the course of like 60 photographs, like little 3x4 inch, 6x7 centimeter photographs, is like there's something special with that book. So God, I can't remember if that's the New West or Denver. Does anybody know? Can anybody help me out with which one I'm thinking about? I'll find it. I know where that is because that stays open all the time. But anyway, so thanks for being here with us at the WKGP Blue Sky Talks tonight. My name is Kris Graves, and I run a publishing company in New York. We're speaking to Lauren Noelle Oliver tonight about her work and just what she's been doing over the past year. I think even this 1 year has been so crazy, and I know already that we'll have some things to talk about. So first off, Lauren, how's it going? Everything, are you feeling good today?
I'm feeling really good. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to see a lot of familiar faces in the room. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you to Blue Sky. Thank you, Kris. Gratitude is what I'm feeling.
All right. Okay. And so where are you at? Where are you at? Where does Lauren live?
You know, I live in Queens.
I do.
Born and raised Forest Hills, Queens, and I'm still here. I took a little detour, went to SUNY Purchase for my undergrad, Westchester, which is, well, we didn't meet at Purchase because you were years prior to me.
Yeah, I was old compared to your young ass, yeah.
I was trying to say it in a nice way, but...
no, that's fine. That wasn't a mean way, I don't think.
So, but we did meet through students, through faculty, and then I ended up being your intern at the Guggenheim.
That's right. What year was that?
Ooh, 2012, 2013, maybe?
Yeah, cool. And so, okay, you went to Purchase. I mean, so pretty much very similar stories from Queens, went to Purchase College. Why did you choose Purchase I'm sure you had other choices in the city?
I did. I mean, I think I was limited by my financial means. So initially when I left high school, I went to Marymount Manhattan College, which maybe some of you know, but it's not really well known for its photography department. And I went there because I got a scholarship.
Well, yeah, good.
And then I ended up hating it. I'm sorry if there's anyone on here that's affiliated to Marymount, but I ended up hating it, and I transferred into Purchase because it was more of a creative community, and there was a great visual arts program there, or so my mom told me, and I trusted in her. And I went there my sophomore year, and I continued through the end. And honestly, I have so much love for SUNY Purchase. Like, I work with high school students now, and they're applying for college, and I'm like, what about SUNY Purchase? Did you look into it?
I dig it. I mean, I feel the same way. I loved it so much, even though it was like one of the more penitentiary looking campuses in the world. It felt good to me, at least. And I met the best, that school, you just meet all these different people from everywhere in the world doing all sorts of different, things like acting and dancing and music and art and then comedy. I know like comedians and all sorts of stuff. Purchase was I'll tell my kids to go to Purchase one day.
Exactly.
So went to Purchase and you got out. When did you graduate from Purchase?
2014.
Uh-huh. And you've had a lot of kind of jobs in the art world since then, right? That's how it's gone. Has it always been art world jobs?
No, actually, when I initially left SUNY Purchase, I worked at a boutique, what's the word I'm looking for? Maternity boutique in the West Village. And I did that for a hot minute before I got my first job at a gallery. And then I think that was in 2015, 2016. And then from 2016 till a couple of months ago, I was just going from gallery to different institution, and just kind of navigating that structure.
Uh-huh. And well, I don't know if you actually want to talk. Well, anyway, we'll talk about that stuff later. What I wanted to show now was earlier this year, I asked you to be part of a new adventure that we're taking named Monolith Editions, which is a new publishing company that I started in I think May or June. I don't know when we started talking about this, but I've loved your work for a long time now, and we've been in communication about your work for at least a few years, I think, at this point. And so I'm just gonna share my screen, and we're gonna go through the book, every page, so people can see what it's about, and then if you just kind of explain what we're seeing.
Yeah, let's get into it.
All right. So this is our cover.
Yes, this is our cover. This is Temple of the Self. It's a collection of self-portraits and portraits that focus on the body interacting with light, nature, and space.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a nice little story guy.
You had to censor that for the gram.
Oh my gosh, I've been getting kicked off so much for your content. It's pretty funny. Actually.
I don't know how I'm still like functioning on Instagram, honestly. Now that I probably said that, they're probably gonna kick me off.
No, Zoom's not owned by Instagram. This is a whole different proprietary thing that we have to worry about like 2 years from now.
Great.
Yeah.
So I often refer to this body of work as a visual meditation because I think it also relates to my artistic practice as a whole. I've always utilized the camera as a contemplative tool, a way to look inward, engage in deep thought, ask myself questions, process my emotions in a way that you would treat a diary. But I've never been really good at articulating myself in words, so I always gravitated towards the visual. Mm-hmm. But I also think, and the reason why I use meditation with this work is because I think that there's a strong meditative quality to analog photography, which is the medium that I'm primarily working with. It was introduced to me in high school, and it's what I focused on primarily at SUNY Purchase. And I think because of the slowness of that process, it allows for that deep thought, not just in what you're photographing, but how to photograph it.
Yeah. And so you are making most of these images with a 35 millimeter camera, or like what are you like? Are these sets in your home, or are you in a studio? Like, how do you make the work? Is it anywhere?
All of this is in my home, in my former apartment. I think that I'm the kind of artist that likes to challenge herself with limitations. So it's funny because like when quarantine hit, I was upset for like a range of different reasons, but I was also thinking to myself, like, how am I going to continue to make work if I can't leave my apartment, or I can't go to the dark room and process my film? And do I even still shoot film? And then it piles up in my apartment and I can't even see it. So with reluctance, I was doing digital and film. And there's a lot of strength to working digitally, which this project, some of the images like helped me realize because of the nature of self-portraiture and the way that I'm photographing. I don't always get to see the results right away.
Yeah.
But with a digital camera, I could take the photograph and I could leave the position that I was in, run over to the tripod, look at what I had just shot, and figure out, do I need to, fix my posture? Do I need to put my feet closer to the light, farther away from the light?
So did you find I know that you're printing in a darkroom a lot. So did you find that it was like a sad part of it not to be able to go into the darkroom with those photographs that you made that were, the digital?
It was really sad. But then I ended up, when I got access to the darkroom and I returned, I processed a lot of film that I had taken along with making these digitally. And it was really interesting. There were definitely strengths in the negative, as well as like failures in the negative that were better digitally. But since now I've gone back to the darkroom and have been going there weekly, I'm just fully embracing film and all of its difficulties and challenges. And now I'm really having to like shoot and not know for like a couple of days, like what happened. And there's an excitement there. But there's also like a really deep disappointment when you process your negatives and you're at the light table and you're like, wow, this didn't come out at all as how I was planning, but it only makes you hungrier to go back and do it again.
So are you doing both now all the time?
Oh, I'm not shooting digitally at all. I like
I dig it.
put her to bed. I was like, you had your time in the sun. So now I'm
flow.
What?
The early pandemic flow of a digital camera.
Yeah, I mean, so now I'm going with my Minolta camera. I have it set up on my tripod and I'm just like ready to go. I'm just like interchanging different film.
So so this project in particular, is it something that you're continuing to make? Or is it something that this is a piece that stands alone and now you're making other works that are kind of, well, I don't know, but you tell me.
No, I mean, so with this project, I didn't have a conscious start or end date to it because I've always been interested in the body. And I think that with the pandemic, I've sort of had the time to dig deeper into that practice, but using myself. And I've had this great amount of time and some resources to sort of like deeply reflect and reconnect to who I was maybe when I was at Purchase, because I feel like I lost some of that in between the transition of leaving and graduating and realizing like, okay, like what am I going to do now? And then getting sucked up into the art world and trying to figure out my way there. So it's like now I finally have a better sense of self. And so that was a long-winded answer, but I am continuing this work because I think that it's just important for me as like a human in developing who I am. You feel me?
And yes, I agree. I mean, that's how we make our work, right? We have to kind of figure out, well, what's wrong and try to like put it onto paper. I think is kind of like, what are we seeing as a problem? How do we get it on a piece of paper? Well, or something like that. We had a question. Is this strictly self-portraits? It seems like there are other characters included.
There are other characters included, mainly my partner, because that's the person other than me that I have the most access to that is willing to sort of go along with the ideas that I have. So thank you, John Carlos. But it is me and it is him, and that's it.
Cool. And well, I wanted to, oh, and if you guys have any questions, please ask them in the chat. We'll also turn the video function back on in a little bit, but for now, we're just gonna have a little bit of conversation because I have some things that I wanna know. And one of those things is, when did you make your first photograph? Do you remember?
My first like analog or digital photograph?
No, like the first time you picked up a camera and were like, oh my God, I think I actually like this.
This is kind of morose, but I think it says a lot about what I was talking about before, about like the camera. But when I was in high school, my grandfather passed away and we as a family went to Puerto Rico for his funeral. And it was on a beach and there was an urn and we were saying goodbye and letting the urn kind of like float off into the water. And it was a really uncomfortable situation for me because I was dealing with like the death of someone so important to me. And the only thing that I could figure out to do in that moment was like take pictures and like document the clouds, document the waves crashing to the surface, my family members, the actual urn itself that was a seashell. And like, I look back at that so often and I kind of think like what my family was thinking about in the moment, because everyone was so like in their own heads and, you know, mourning. And then here I am with like this point and shoot camera, just like taking pictures mindlessly.
Wow.
But those were like, that was my first camera. And those were the first pictures that I took of significance. And it really helped me like get through that funeral and that entire time. So
do you feel like that is how, well, do you think that photography is that tool to get you through some things?
I think so. I think that art is definitely a healing process. I think that people should see it that way and use it as a resource and a way to express themselves, to get through, you know, the hurdles that we're going through right now and just in general.
Yeah. And sorry, how old were you when that happened?
I think I was like 15, 16.
So you're in high school and you started to use a camera and you chose Purchase after a community college, you said, or just the first college, not even a community college, just the first college that you just didn't like.
Yeah.
What did you go to that first college for? Was it photography?
It was, you know, I think Marymount at the time had a partnership with ICP. And my mom was like, you should go there because, you know, you already have familiarity with ICP, so it'll be a smooth transition. But I mean, Marymount is more well known for theater and dance. And so I felt like I didn't really have the kind of photo community that I really had at Purchase, which I am grateful for because, you know, I've kept in contact with so many of you and so many of you are here. So it's really nice to see that community extend beyond Purchase.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even see who's coming in, but like, thanks for being here, y'all. I'll look through the list later. Guys, if you have any questions, the new people that signed in, just let us know and we'll ask her all the questions. I want all the answers so that I know, because it's good for me to hear, because I don't know this stuff. I mean, unfortunately, because the book came out during the pandemic, we haven't been able to put it on a table or have like our normal just, I consider publishing like party time, you know what I mean? Like we should be out like just showing this book to the world in a way, and to do it from home is just a little bit harder. So yeah, we appreciate the questions is all I'm saying. So SUNY Purchase represent Kaylee wrote for the book, Kaylee Rizzo. And would you explain like why you had Kaylee write for this project?
So shout out to Kaylee Rizzo. She is such a talented writer. We went to school with her as well. She studied journalism, and Kaylee writes in such a visual way. You know, I think because we're all visual people, I think we need writing and literature that appeals to us in those senses. And everything that I've read of hers has always, you know, I feel like it's appeared right before my eyes. And I think that's so powerful. And it's something that I admire so much because it's like a skill that I do not have.
Yeah.
And so because Kaylee and I have always had this ongoing conversation, and I very much so think that she's a part of my process, because I will let her in and we'll talk about pictures that I'm making, and she'll talk about, you know, what she's writing. And so we've always had this understanding and this similar aesthetic in terms of the art that we're looking at. So it felt very natural to bring her in on something. Like, I don't think I could have asked anyone else, or I could have thought of anyone else.
Yeah.
It just seemed like she was the perfect person.
It seems like, you know, when you have a collaborator that you know works, then you always want to work with that collaborator. I feel like the same way about the people I choose to figure out writing with. It's just like they know something that I can't put into words, but I can maybe put into a photograph, and it works vice versa a little bit too. So I that's Kaylee, thank you so much for the beautiful writing in the book. Oh, so they want to hear a snippet. Maybe a little later. I feel like maybe we can get Kaylee to come and do her own snippet as a little piece. But we'll do that in a little. She said, oh, so she's going to do it. We're going to do that a little later. What do you have someone that you consider like a mentor, or somebody that you've been like the work you've just been following since you got into photography?
Well, I guess so. In relation to this project, there's two people that I want to mention, and one of them is Francesca Woodman, because I think that a lot of you who have looked at the book have reached out to me and said, oh, your work reminds me a lot of Francesca.
Huh.
And she was someone who I was introduced to at the beginning of photo in high school by my first photography teacher ever, Curtis Willocks. If you're on here, shout out to you. So, you know, when I looked at her work, there's an obvious feeling of sadness, but there's also like a hint of playfulness and freedom in how she experiments with her own body, and experiments with her body in relation to other bodies and space, and sort of a lot of the things that I'm hitting on. So I've always looked at her work. And early into quarantine, I rewatched The Woodmans on YouTube because that movie is amazing. I highly recommend it. And then the second person is Janelle Lynch, who I mentioned at the beginning. I've been taking class with her now for almost a year, and she's an incredible photographer. She works with an 8x10 camera. She works in nature. She works with color 8x10, which is just an incredible thing to be doing. It's nothing I've ever touched before because it makes me nervous. And she's so in tune to her practice, and she has this incredible discipline, and she's taught me so much in a short period of time. And I'm so grateful to her. So she's definitely someone that needs to be acknowledged.
Okay. I was going to ask, what is the first, do you remember the first photo book you ever purchased?
That I ever purchased? That's tough because I have so many.
I will tell you that the first few that I ever purchased were like Gordon Parks, like a kind of chronology book of Gordon Parks' work, a W. Eugene Smith book of something like Dream Street or something, and like, I don't know, like I can't, a Radiohead like picture disc or something. I don't know, something like that. But anything or most recent purchase we got from the crowd? Like, is there a most recent purchase in the book?
Most recent purchase would be Bill Brandt. I don't have the book in front of me, but I bought it during quarantine because I was thinking about his portraits in relation to this work, and sort of thinking about his process too, because he was working with a particular type of camera and a lens that sort of distorted the figures. And actually the one photograph in the book is kind of like an ode to Bill Brandt, because I was like laying in bed and I was trying to figure out, how do I get the look of Bill without having the Bill lens or the Bill camera.
Cool. I dig that. Okay, so that's the last book you purchased. That question was answered. Now I don't have to ask it. Now I know that you're not only a photographer, like you are an artist. What else are you doing in the art scene? Like what else do you fill your days with besides just photography?
I volunteer. I'm a teaching assistant at ICP. I'm working with Teen Academy, which is a really great program at ICP. And that was sort of my introduction to photography through their community program with the High School of Fashion Industries. So I've tried to maintain my relationships there, and keep giving back to that community, and putting that work forward and helping out the next generation of creatives.
Yeah.
And then when I'm not doing that, I'm at the Gowanus Darkroom. Shout out to Gowanus Darkroom. That's where I do all of my printing and processing, and that's also just where I work as a monitor. So if you come through on a Tuesday, that's where I'll be.
Tuesdays at the Gowanus Darkroom, people. What are we talking about?
What's up?
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, it's great that there are still darkrooms in New York City. You know, like I think about that and I'm like, wow, you can still run a darkroom? That's really cool. I love it. How many, is it black and white and color, or just black and white?
It's black and white and color. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is cool.
Come
so
through.
Are you working with like color machines also? Like you're a monitor for color stuff?
I am, but I'm not the best monitor with color because it's kind of foreign territory to me. Like I've printed in color before, but I don't really show color work. I'm more comfortable in black and white. If you have black and white questions, I'm your gal.
Yeah. If you have any zone system questions for for Lauren, now's the time.
Oh my God. Please don't.
Do you, I know that you were or still are a dancer. How much does that come into play when you're making these photographs or thinking about your next artwork?
That's a great question. I was hoping to touch on that. So I'm not dancing sort of in the way, I guess, that a professional dancer would. I'm more so just a mover. I feel like, the body needs movement on a day-to-day basis, whether it's like walking, whether it's running, exercising, just even like improvising to your own beat, putting on a Spotify playlist. But in my household, I grew up with a lot of salsa, and my sister and I were put into ballet and tap and gymnastics at the same time. So we had that foundation together, and I learned a lot about femininity through that. I feel like in my household, that's how I sort of understood how to carry myself as a woman. It was interesting, and I've sort of been reflecting on that. I've sort of made pieces in response to that, and I kind of treat my photography practice as a mixture of both making still images that are inspired by movement, because I think, and I hope that this comes across in the work, but there is a lot of movement involved in setting up these scenes, and just in my interaction with the light, or my interaction with my bedroom, or interaction with nature. So it's still very much so a part of my work. And I feel a little strange that, like, you know, it's been 8 months or however long we've been in this weird apocalyptic
Yeah. When did you
state
start
that
this? Yeah, it's been a while.
when did I start? Yeah,
When
I
did
mean,
you
I
start?
can't.
March 22nd or something like that? I don't even, something like that.
Yeah, I got not sent home from work, but I remember like we were closing. At the time, I was working at a museum, and we closed like March 13th or March 14th. And at that time, it was like, we're closing for 2 weeks, TBD. And then everything from there was just like virtual and Zoom. So yeah, that was challenging.
I'm
Are
just
you
now.
making the cat noises?
Your cat's making some of them. I'm making the other ones. So okay, so you're a little choppy now, but I think that maybe you're coming back to life. So, but your voice is coming in through, so that's good. So right now, COVID's happening. What is the craziest thing that you've seen during COVID? Like, what has happened during COVID where you're just like, oh, that's something crazier than I ever thought would happen?
Honestly, it's still, can you hear me? Am I still good?
100%.
Okay. It's still a little bit jarring to see everyone in masks and that this is the new norm. Like, of course, I think it's important to wear masks, and whenever I leave my apartment, I'm wearing a mask. But it's also weird, like when I watch television shows or movies that were made pre-pandemic, and to see people out in the street not wearing masks is weird, because it's like I almost can't even fathom a time before this, which is sad.
Yeah, it's only been like 8, 9 months, and it already feels like that was. I'm looking at pictures from January, thinking like, wow, that was years ago. Uh, and yeah, so that's just how it goes in pandemic. Have you been outside of New York City during this whole time?
I have not. Someone please get me out of here and take me away someplace on a getaway.
A long drive somewhere south and warm, probably, right?
I am planning on going to Dia Beacon in a couple of weeks for my birthday. So that'll be the
Cool.
farthest yeah.
Really? You've been in Queens and Brooklyn like almost this whole time?
This whole time, Queens and
Wow.
Brooklyn.
Wow.
So
Congratulations. That's hard to do. That's hard to do.
it is.
If anyone else has questions, please let me know. We're about to have everyone jump on with their faces, but I just want to ask a few silly questions. One was, and I haven't asked this one in a while, but like, if you close your eyes and think about when you were like 15, 16-year-old, what was the jump off on that mix CD that you listened to before you went to school, at school, after school? It's time to be embarrassed just a little bit, maybe, or you had the cool selections. Like, what was that song?
I am embarrassed to say this because I've also been listening to it. I listened to it this morning, actually, because it was stuck in my head, which is If You Had My Love by Jennifer Lopez, Dark Child remix. So,
Oh, the remix. Yes.
Very specific, but it slaps. So I also have that on vinyl. So that says a lot about me.
That single or the whole album?
The Jennifer Lopez, the remixes. I have the vinyl.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm dedicated.
I feel you. I mean, I have some stuff that would embarrass anyone in my apartment with the like vinyl, because vinyl, you can go back in time in a way that's a little bit different. You can live back in time in a different way. So yeah, I feel you. I dig it. That's great. That's that New York City shit right there. It's just like J-Lo was so New York. She couldn't be from anywhere else on the planet. You have the vinyl under you right now. Is it like
No, I'm trying to like wrestle with my cat so that he's, not disruptive, but it's not working.
No, the cat's fine as long as it's, well, I mean, we can only hear them yells. You can feel them.
I can.
Okay, cool. So guys, we've been talking for, I think, like 30, 35 minutes. If you guys want to jump in with your faces, and ask your own questions in person, or just we can have a more open conversation. I think that you've listened to us enough. So let's I don't know if you guys can actually join Faces because I canceled you all out, but hopefully if you want to come back, please do. Oh, I see. It does work on both ends. I knew it would.
This is dope.
Yeah, so now we can have some fun with it. Who do you see here, Lauren? Like who do you want to say what up to on this on these pictures?
I want to say hi to Dee Dee, Jody, Kaylee,
Hi.
Marissa. Scott's here. And Audrey's here. Chelsea's here.
Who else we got here?
What is that?
All right, I'm gonna do this really quick. Get in there. Move the speaker so I can see the full screen. Okay, cool. So you guys have any questions, please ask. If not, I'm gonna keep asking some really stupid ones. And binge show, what's the binge right now? What's up?
Oh, I just started a show called Hollywood on Netflix. It's a Netflix original. Yeah, Audrey knows. It's really good. I don't know if you have peeped it yet, but
No.
highly
What's the name of that
suggest.
again? I'm gonna write it in the text here.
Hollywood.
Okay. Hollywood.
And of
Okay.
course, Eric Andre show, season 5.
Is it out already?
Yeah, it's on Adult Swim.
Okay then. Then I'll be watching that. Like I love those little 12-minute episodes. It's perfect. Rafia, if you have a
Me too.
question and you want to ask it through text, please do. And if not, just jump on with your face. Rafia had the question, why the aversion to digital? Tough.
Good.
Oh, sorry, my
question.
bad with the, I'm sorry about the mispronounce. Would you tell me how to pronounce it, please?
Rafia.
Rafia, my bad.
Now I feel embarrassed because I loved Rafia's senior show. And I know that they work primarily in digital. I don't know. I think that it goes back to the slowness versus like immediacy of digital. I think that I work better with a
Mhm.
slower process because it gets me to really think about the whole frame and what I'm trying to say
Yeah.
with what I'm photographing. And I think with digital, I just get too trigger happy and I can see it as I'm shooting it and I'm like, oh, that's perfect. Let's go over here and there, you know? So it's a different pace. It's a different feeling. So, I mean,
And
I did.
Yeah.
Go
Sorry,
ahead.
No, I was just gonna say you're allowed to love to make an analog while also loving to look at digital work, right? We hope.
Yeah, I mean, the other day I was trying to think about digital artists that I really admire, but I couldn't think of any because I've just been looking at so many analog artisans. Like my whole Instagram feed is just people working in film. And then I'm at Gowanus Darkroom, so I'm just looking at people processing their film, printing their silver gelatin. So it's like my world has become very analog focused.
I dig it. That's cool. I mean, I think that yes, we all need our worlds, right? Like we exist and then we bring it back. Like we see what we see and then we can either make some work or like figure out how to work with those artists in a way. It's just like a big circle of like creativity. I mean, that's all it is. Like a bunch of different types of creativity. It's pretty great. We do have some questions. Could you talk about can you talk about the direction of your partner and use of accessories and clothing in the book? So if they are accessories or are they his clothes or all that?
Thank you, Dorothy, for that question. And thank you for being here. So it's actually no shade to John Carlos, but sometimes it's a little challenging to work with him because he's,
Is he here?
I don't know.
You can talk as much shit as you want. He's not here.
Yeah, I don't think he is here. Okay, good.
I'm here.
He's, oh,
Never mind, he's here, so you have to.
dang.
Go ahead and talk shit.
I'm gonna pretend like he's not here, but he is a little bit more stiff. Whereas I think that when I work with myself, I'm totally fluid. And because I have that history of dance, I'm sort of able to put myself into different positions, but it's actually really good practice, I think, working with him, because it's like a exercise of communication. It's like, what's the best way for me to tell him to posture himself differently? And I think that the more we do it, we get better at it, but we haven't done it in quite some time. So maybe it's time to revisit it. And the clothing, I think the pictures that I have of him in the book, I'm utilizing lace, lace fabric, and a lace slip and stockings. And I guess I'm just interested. I'm interested in the lace because of the connotations that lace has in terms of being a more sexual fabric, in terms of it being used for lingerie. And I think the photograph on the bed of the lace slip was interesting because I think the lace slips sort of are more so seen on women, you know, in bed. And it was interesting to see that on him, but to see it more like embraced as a male wearing this lace slip and like being comfortable in their sexuality, and embracing the hair and embracing the roughness of the skin and sort of marrying those two different qualities together and putting it out into the world and seeing how people would respond to it. So I'm sort of always trying to play with that. Hope that answered.
Well, I think that answers, and I think that, you know, it's really great to thank you, JC, for the beautiful modeling. I appreciate it. We all do. We have a question. Can we hear a snippet of the pros? We're going to close this tonight. If Kaylee wants to, we're not closing yet, but at the end, we'll do it. So if you get ready, Kaylee, we'll get you on here. Okay, the next question is, do you have any creative daily rituals? That's an awesome question. How do you honor or nourish your creative practice?
Great question.
Yeah,
thank you, Diana. I guess for me, I like to set daily intentions. So like goals, basically, small or big. But I like to sort of be gentle with myself and not be like, you need to do this, 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 and this. So sometimes it'll be as simple as taking time to meditate, taking time to practice a little bit of yoga. And I think sometimes just doing that and being still or putting myself into a pose and seeing how my body feels is really important to my practice. And I've been trying to write more. I have.
Writing like fiction, or like what do you mean?
No, I think when I'm moved to write, either if I'm thinking of something that I want to shoot or I've just shot and I sort of have these lingering feelings from having made this picture, I try to write them down to really reflect on them so I don't lose them, and so that it adds to like every step beyond that. So.
And I have another question about, like, is your cat killing you right now, or like what's happening with the cat? Because I still hear the cat in the background, and it's like it just is what it is at this point. It's just chilling.
Let the cat speak.
He's hungry. I have to feed him, but he just ate like 2 hours ago, so I don't understand.
So we have another question. Will you be choreographing another? Whoa. Will you be choreographing another piece anytime soon? Because I know that you did a performance last year or earlier this year.
Last year in June, I choreographed a solo piece for my sister. I haven't thought about it, but I think that the piece that I did last year isn't complete. Like, I think that it sort of needs to be realized as a film, not necessarily a performance. So I'd like to revisit it. But I have sort of been dancing since then in more informal ways. So thank you, Marissa.
Cool. Okay, cool. What do we got? I think I think all the questions are answered. So I'm going to go back to my list of questions, which are ridiculous again. Unless you guys have questions. I think one question's coming in. Let's see. Oh, yeah, something happened. Okay. Describe your dream date. Okay, cool. I didn't know what that meant. It just said dream date question mark. And I was like, what does that mean? Like, what does that mean? Okay. Describe your dream date.
Like my romantic dream date?
I don't know. Kaylee wrote it. I have no idea.
Any. Okay.
Why are you just not saying it? Why are you writing it down?
I don't know why I am. I've just been getting, this was Adira's request and I just wanted to +1 because I am also very curious as
I
to.
unmuted.
I think I had my dream date yesterday with John Carlos, and we went to the Noguchi Museum in Queens, and we did the
Cool.
Socrates Sculpture Park, and it was just really nice. It's great when you are with a person that sort of understands your need to be alone in spaces like that. So like we got to the museum and we immediately like split up, and like I didn't know where he was. I think he knew where I was, maybe he didn't. But it was great. And then we sort of found each other at the end and digested everything together. So that was my dream date. Thank you, John Carlos and Kaylee and Adira.
You're
This is a good
welcome.
answer. This keeps it all like the relationship, like great answer.
I hope I redeemed myself.
Oh man. So I wanted to ask a question about, you've done a lot of art world jobs. What is your biggest peeve about the art world, the art business? What do you hate the most? Like what is just like a one thing? It's just like, I could leave that. I don't need that in my life.
I think the lack of diversity is the biggest issue that I have. And I think that's one of the reasons why I was so happy to be working with you and to see that you were creating this sub house from Kris Graves projects that was just dedicated to artists of color. And your mission statement sort of exemplified exactly how I was feeling in March about the art world, is just that there wasn't space for us. But in March, I wasn't feeling like, okay, we have to create our own spaces. I was just so downtrodden that there wasn't space, and that I just spent the last like 4 years trying to fit into a world that, was never really going to accept me. And I had to deal with all of that. I'm still dealing with all of that, but it's helpful to me to like be back in this community and know that people like you and a lot of the people on this call are working towards fixing that and remedying that disparity.
Well, and yeah, you make amazing work, and it needs to be seen. So I'll do whatever I can to get it seen. I mean, that's it. Oh, actually, what was it? Yeah, we're selling to some museums, but I'll tell you about that like when I know for sure. But it's been a good month we got into some collections, like, so it's good. You're in the Mets collection. Congratulations. I mean, I think you already knew that one, right?
I did, but I'm happy to hear it again. And thank you for the claps.
Yeah, so something's happening. I mean, it's probably impossible to sell a museum prints right now, but not so impossible to get them a really beautiful publication. So I'm really happy about that. Oh, we do have another question. Super nice to see you and listen to you, Lauren. Can you share the edit process for the book? Good question.
So I am not good at sequencing. I am super stubborn about it as well. So it took me a while to actually print out all the images. It took me a while to just get to a point where I knew what images I wanted to print, or I even like wanted to show you. And then when I printed them out, it took me a really long time to sequence them and to understand the story that I was trying to tell and to understand the relationships that images have to each other, ones that need to be together, ones that need to be alone. And so the best method for me was to just spread it all out on the floor and tape it up to the wall. And then I would go to sleep looking at it. And then I would wake up looking at it. And
Great.
that was like my rule of thumb, was like, if I still liked it in the morning, then I would keep it as is. But if I hated it, I would redo it. And then once I figured out a good enough sequence to send to you, then I sent it to you. And then we had our back and forth.
Yeah. Then it's like, but I think, yeah, I always ask an artist, as Lauren in particular, to send me what they want it to look like and what order. And then we kind of go back and forth and figure out like, well, we do have to have some double pages. So how can we match image off of another image? Or, so that stuff is what we come back to. And then we figure out like, if there's 2 or 3 more photographs that I saw on Instagram that she didn't give to me in the first place, I'm going to try to get those in the book because I think that, I want them. And if they fit, they fit. So we fight a little bit for those and, kind of try to get all that stuff in. But, it's pretty much, it's bound by the, uh-oh. I hear someone. Is that the news? Do I hear the news? Sorry. Yes, so we play back and forth for a little bit. I think we did that for probably 3 or 4 weeks actually, and then came down to it and decided to go to press and got some proofs. This process is very long. I think we started talking about this. We probably started talking about this right after George Floyd's murder, actually, because that's when I started the press. And then I wanted Lauren as the first book we made, or like at least part of the first 3 books that we made for the press. And yeah, we're bound by the 48 pages. I think that was really it. Like we know what we want, as the press knows what it wants, and then we fit that. So it's like, you have 20 spreads. What can you do with 20 spreads? We get some text, we get some images, and then we put it together in the best way possible. That's how we do it. And we put it on great paper, and we try to sell it for like a very inexpensive price. So we're just really, thank you for having it. If you own it already, and thanks for staying here for like an hour, all 36 of you. I appreciate it. I really do. And Blue Sky appreciates it also. Yeah, it's $20. The book's $20. If you want it, I'll ship it to you tomorrow. There's a few right here. I'll ship them out tomorrow if you want it. Anyway, so we're about to end this because I think we've been on here for almost an hour. So Kaylee, if you would come off of mute and give us a little bit of going away beauty while I put the book back on in your background for a minute. Let's do this.
Sure. Lauren, is there a section that you want me to read?
No, you got to read the whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Oh, I also just want to show off. The book is amazing. It's beautiful. It feels so good in the hands. If you don't have a copy, like,
I agree.
You just need to get it. You need to feel it. It's so well done. Congratulations to the whole team. I'm so honored to be a part of it.
Thank you.
All right. Some people say the body is a temple. I'm trying to determine which style is yours. Gothic, Grecian, Buddhist, or Bauhaus? Your disparate parts defy any easy categorization. Between your Beaux-Arts chest and your Nouveau neck, I'm unsure where you belong. If you were able to choose, you'd probably want to be some strong and sturdy structure, an earthquake-proof skyscraper, or a pantheon preserved through generations. But you might be equating strength with solidity. I feel your pulse, and I know your softness isn't weakness. It contains both vitality and vulnerability. In fact, nothing in the human architecture is opposite. Bone is not the opposite of skin, just as bricks are not the opposite of windows. It's impossible to reduce you to your parts like that. A curved hip is as natural as a pointed elbow. Even now, as you've started to experience me, it's with your whole body, not its far-flung parts. As your fingers draw you through our affair, your pulse quickens at the sight of a shadow, a hint of a womb. Your eyelids flutter hundreds, if not thousands of times. Fight it. While you're with me, stare without blinking at torsos becoming landscapes, roses blooming from chests, light tattooing shadows across hips. How does your body respond? Are you breathing fast? I feel your skin graze across my pages, across the bodies inscribed there. Pause and take your time with me. Have your fingers wrapped around the edges of my cover? Do your thumbs rest on this smooth page? Maybe my shape is cradled in the mounds of your palm, pinky and thumb poised in front like an easel. Perhaps I rest against some soft, fleshy part. Your thighs, your stomach, the pads of your fingers. Hold me close while you go through me. Through the alchemy of imagination, I could extend from your body like a paper limb. After all, you don't end at your skin. You're more than flesh and blood. Your hair and organ and soul, and the information and images you retain from streets, from conversations, from pages like mine. Over time, they become part of you too. You are a structure whose foundations deepen and walls continually crumble. There is no blueprint to make it all make sense. How could there be? As soon as you've located a solid room, the invisible lines of human architecture twist and the building has changed. It's enough to doom some people. They will forever circle around themselves, blindly hunting for the entrance to the temple of the self. But all they have to do is stop and look. The entry might be tucked behind the spire of a spine or beneath some flying buttress, but it is always there. And although the door may appear closed, it is never truly locked. It opens to all who observe it.
Thank you so much, Kaylee. That was beautiful. Thank you. If you want to ask a question, you got to scream it. We're done here. That was a perfect way to end. Thank you so much, Kaylee. Thank you, Lauren. Thank you, Blue Sky. It's been a special hour, and I'm glad that we got to spend it together. And just thank you. Thank you very much. And you can find out, you can see more of the book at Printed Matter. Both locations in New York City have books on the shelf, unless it's sold out. I'm not sure. They never tell me. Either there, you can probably find it at Photo Eye in Santa Fe if you're near Santa Fe. If you're not, you can drive like 8, 12, 14 hours, right? I mean, it's easy. And if neither one of those works, you can buy it from me. And if you don't like it, you can send it back and I'll give you your money back. How about that? That's how we can do it today. Lauren, thanks for speaking to us for an hour. And thanks, Blue Sky, for having us on your Zoom feed. And we hope to do this again. Next week, we have, who do we have next week? Next Tuesday, we have Ephraim Zaloni Mendel, who may be on this call. He's here somewhere in the background. So we'll be talking to him at 8:30 p.m. next Tuesday. And next Thursday, we're speaking to Isaac Diggs and Edward Hillel, who have just finished their project, Electronic Landscapes, a Detroit story is what I'll call it. And these are both going to be very fun conversations. So thanks everybody for being here. Have a great night. Enjoy it. What's the TV show?
Hollywood.
Netflix or Prime. I forgot which one, but we'll find it. And have a nice night, y'all.
Thank you everyone for being here.
Bye, Lauren. Thank you.
Bye, Lauren.
Bye.
Hope you guys still have some alcohol with you too, of course.
What are you drinking?
Oh, I got this stuff today, and it's like, I don't know if it was the right choice or not, but it's
JD.
It's pretty sweet. It is sweet. But I'll take it. Tonight is, well, I can't drink this all tonight, so it's going to be some nights, but I'm down for it. It's strong enough.
Thank you so much to Blue Sky and Kris. This was a lot of fun.
It was really wonderful. I really enjoy your book a lot, Lauren, and look forward to getting our paws on one at Blue Sky, hopefully.
Oh yeah, I'll send out all the books. I didn't know, I forgot that they weren't there, but yeah, I'll send you guys copies for sure.
Cool.
Yay. You need to have them.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay, cool. We're ending this. Bye.
Bye.